Hubbard's Multi-Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more. You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
Hubbard's Multi-Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
Nicaragua's parliament, controlled by allies of President Daniel Ortega, has shut down 25 non-governmental organizations in a move slammed by the opposition as a further attack on civil society. The organizations, many of which have publicly criticized the government, were closed by Congress, with 74 votes in favor and 15 abstentions. Lawmakers argued that the NGOs had violated Nicaraguan laws and failed to disclose financial accounts. Most of the NGOs work on human rights issues and carry out social and cultural work. Authorities of the Central American country have shut down 163 NGOs since mass protests against Ortega's government in 2018 sparked a political crisis. Nicaragua's Congress has also moved in recent months to curb the independence of universities. Ortega was sworn into office for his fourth consecutive term as president in January, 2 months after winning an election dismissed by the U.S. and other Western nations as fraudulent.
Speaking at a meeting, the Cannabis Task Force on Tuesday, April 20th, Minister for Commerce Emma Hippolyte announced a 6-month timeline for presenting a cannabis bill to Parliament. The bill forms a crucial part of the development of St. Lucia's cannabis industry. The minister reveals that there ought to be much public sensitization to ensure that the legislation is as comprehensive as possible, taking into account various social factors.
We believe the process, apart from having this draft bill, we have to continue the stakeholder discussion, especially the issue of education, how we protect minors. So we need to have a lot of community discussion apart from after we finish this document. So we see ourselves within a 6 months. The public education is key, and how we protect each other and things like that. That's what we see. We hope it's shorter than that, but that's what we see. A lot of public discussion.
Member of the Cannabis Task Force, Andrew DeCarey, says there are multiple benefits to be derived from the full exploration of cannabis.
So it's almost a quarter of a century we've been looking forward to this day when we could produce a bill that would be able to free up our economy, get the youth back into agriculture, add to the GDP of the country, there are so many things that the sky is the limit with this particular plant. And in these particular times, when we're coming out of a COVID crisis and there's a war looming in the East, St. Lucia has to be able to stand on its own. We can't really depend on foreign countries to prop us up anymore. And real independence is food independence. So we believe that this agricultural project that we're about to embark on would be to the benefit of all St. Lucians, and we hope that the country could embrace it and change their attitudes towards the plant. It's not something that you need to fear, and that we could actually make a really good go at it and improve the lives of many people who have never had that pathway of upward social mobility.
President of the Ionola Council for the Advancement of Rastafari, Empress Danny James, says the Rastafarian community looks forward to the establishment of a legal cannabis industry. She says that the Rastafarian community has been persecuted for its cannabis use, and having a seat at the table in the formation of a cannabis industry will ensure the advancement of the Rastafarian community in St. Lucia.
As the first Rastafari woman to head the organization, it is my job, which I'm very happy to undertake to be part of that discussion. But even equally making me proud is where government has allowed us and recognized us, the Rastafari community, at this table where they would allow us to be part of, and where we now look forward to benefiting. Benefiting in a sense, over the years, we have been marginalized, we have been denied, we have been jailed, we have gone through so much as a community just because of cannabis and marijuana and so much. And now we are here where we look forward to benefiting, where we look forward to being part of such a big step, a big moment. So we give thanks for being present. And in saying all that, we've so much happening in the world now, and we speak of food security. I think coming now, cannabis would be the ideal crop to come in with food security, to strengthen food security, where the country will benefit, the communities, the rural communities will also benefit. Rastafari in general, we look forward to benefiting. So we give thanks to be here, we give thanks to be present, and we give thanks for the effort of the task force.
Public Relations Office.
Also making news tonight, the government is continuing to search for alternatives to reduce the country's national debt, which currently stands in the billions. While financial officials maintain increasing taxes is not an option at this time, the primary focus and strategy is on recovering the significant amount of funds that's owed to them. Carla Palmer explains.
$10.8 billion is what the national debt is currently pegged at. That number made worse by 2019's Hurricane Dorian and the current COVID-19 pandemic. Although the country is now fully open, authorities say with an almost 2-year lockdown, the economic damage to the country has already been done. And according to Financial Secretary in the Ministry of Economic Affairs, Simon Wilson, has adversely impacted revenue performance. Nevertheless, he says revenue administration and collection continues to be a priority of the Davis administration in order to reduce the national debt.
Just making sure persons get their bills, making sure that payment mechanisms for taxpayers are much easier. And those efforts have been very successful.
According to Wilson, too many persons have reported not receiving their required tax information in the mail.
It's done by mail, so I don't give a post office box, so I use my cousin's post office box, I use my sister's post office box and so forth, but I'm interacting with the department by email. I'm saying, I don't get a bill. So now we take those email information, those email addresses, and we put it in a program, and now we're able to match it to the taxpayer and submit a bill to the taxpayer.
In the case of property tax, half of the bills issued are never received, causing finance officials to implement a new measure.
So this has been the first year we've done mass email mailings of property tax bills. We're using some artificial intelligence in terms of matching, so names and so forth. So we've been able to take various databases to make sure people get their bills.
Wilson says the program is working very well and is hoping to recover $1.5 billion. That's the amount he claims is outstanding in taxes owed the government.
That's equivalent probably to 3 years of our deficit. The key for us in revenue generation is really make people aware of the taxes. No, most payments pay their taxes on time. But typically, people who are not paying are persons. There's a small percentage of persons who will not pay, no matter the economic circumstances.
Wilson announced that finance officials plan to initially mount an education campaign to explain to residents why it's important they pay their taxes. Carla Palmer, ZNS Network News.
Throughout our lifetime, we must all make decisions. No matter how we choose, the right.
On the heels of an announcement by President Irfan Ali that he plans to meet with the opposition leader Aubrey Norton within weeks to discuss the reconstitution of several commissions, as well as the appointment of a substantive police commissioner, the opposition leader, while welcoming the proposed meeting, today said the meeting should go beyond that and discuss other critical issues that remain unresolved. During a press conference, the opposition leader Aubrey Norton said he is willing to fulfill his constitutional responsibilities, where he's mandated to meet with the president. But it is also important that other issues are raised.
Meeting with the president, should they occur, must extend beyond the appointment of commissioners and judges. Meetings must also discuss opposition concerns about good governance and the abuse of political power by the People's Progressive Party, including discrimination against opposition-led local councils, the uneven and incomplete distribution of flood and other relief, the unsatisfactory oversight of the national patrimony in the National Resource Fund.
Mr. Norton said he is obligated to represent all Guyanese, and the concerns of the masses go beyond appointments of the commissions, noting that the appointment of top judicial officers is paramount.
Further delays and excuses by the government in making judicial and other appointments can also be described for what they are: acts of bad faith and political machination.
The president has not dispatched any formal invitation to the opposition leader for the two to meet as yet, but he has told other media houses that the invitation could be extended within the next 2 weeks. President Ali had refused to initiate any meeting with the former opposition leader Joe Harman, demanding that Mr. Harman first recognizes him publicly as the legitimate president. He has not made any such requests of the new opposition leader. According to Mr. Norton, it is his sincere hope that good sense will prevail.
And it is my sincere hope that good sense will prevail and we attempt to deal with the issues in the society in a holistic way rather than in a piecemeal fashion that way.
This August will mark 2 years of the Irfan Ali government, and there has been no official meeting with him and the opposition leader since he took office.
Meanwhile, Barbados and other developing countries will soon be able to benefit from the newly established Resilience and Sustainability Trust of the IMF. The $45 billion trust seeks to help countries address risk, including climate change and pandemics. Prime Minister Motley says the trust is a step in the right direction, but she urged the World Bank and development banks to go even further.
It's a right step in the right direction. It's the only step thus far that acknowledges vulnerability, but we need the World Bank and the development banks to go further with us. And the reality of the things you said to us at the beginning of the pandemic was that you needed us to spend the money but keep the receipts. And we did in fact keep the receipts. So it should be easy to identify COVID-specific debt. It should even be easy to identify climate-related debt. But what we need to do, because of our highly indebted already, is to put this on another international balance sheet. You can perhaps have a pandemic trust and you can have a climate adaptation trust. But the reality is that what we need is to be able to move it off of our balance sheet, because if it is on our balance sheet, then precludes us from being able to achieve the SDGs, which is our normal development trajectory. And we really want you to perhaps treat it like the British war debt if it has to come on our balance sheet. Because if it's coming on our balance sheet, how do you have a situation where the British understood after World War I, they issued bonds in 1914 and 1917 as 30-year debt at 5%, consolidated them in 1932 to 3.5% with no maturity, and it became perpetual debt that they paid off 100 years after the 1914 debt. Now we have to think outside of the box because it's becoming increasingly difficult even for us to shield our populations with the limited fiscal space that we have against the fact that the cost of debt is likely to increase because of the monetary conditions tightening and because of the fact that we just simply are not seeing the rate of economic recovery as quickly as we need to.